and welcome to my channel. So today we are going to be ranking all of the theatre that I have seen in 2023. So we've got a few programmes here. I'm going to talk a little bit about them, what I liked about them, what I didn't like about them. We're going to be going with my least fave to my most fave. I think that makes a lot of sense. Now this is a little bit of a different video than what I usually do, so I do hope you like this. Let me know in the comments if you do. If you've seen like any of my vlogs and stuff, you'll know I've been to London a few times this year to see shows because I'm a huge fan of musical theatre. I absolutely adore it. So let's go. We're experimenting with new lighting at the moment, so we'll see. We'll see if this is good. I don't know. Anyway, first up, this was my least fave of all the shows I saw this year, and it is 42nd Street. So I saw this at the Opera House in Manchester, and honestly, it just wasn't for me. I recognise a lot of people do love this musical, like it's a classic and stuff, but I just think compared to the other shows I've seen, I wasn't a huge fan. Now, with this and with everyone, like all the other ones I'm going to talk about, can I please stress that it's not the actors involved or anything. They were really, really good. It's just my own personal opinions about these shows. So, acting and dancing in this was phenomenal. Lots of dancing. It was really, really good. The issue for me was just that I wasn't a huge fan of the plot, and I think plot is a big thing for me, like when I go see a show, because I'm someone who really loves like books and stuff, so I love the plot of things. I like to be kept interested. I don't just like a sing-song and a dance. I like a bit of substance. But again, if you don't like that, that's fine. Like I personally did, and that's just kind of my opinion. Obviously you may have a completely different opinion on this because art is subjective, which is great. But I wasn't a huge fan. I think the issue for me was the first act. I think that was kind of, it just felt like it kept going and going. There were a lot of songs that felt like they should have been the end of the first act, and then they weren't, so you were just like, when is this act gonna end? Which isn't like the best. And then when it did end, it was a bit like, it could have ended on a better note. Like I feel like it wasn't ended at the right time. But again, that's just my own personal thing. Like you guys may have completely different opinions on this. Yeah, I wasn't a huge fan. I wouldn't rush back to see it, but my sister who went with me absolutely loved it. So it's really what you think. Like I'm curious if anyone else has seen it, what do you think of it? Because I just didn't like it. I just couldn't get into it. Like I don't know. Next up, this is controversial. You may have already seen it. You may have already guessed what it is. Frozen. So I saw Frozen in the West End. I think with a Disney musical, it's inevitable you're going to compare it to other Disney musicals. Like that's just kind of what's going to happen. The only other Disney musical I've seen is The Lion King, and I love The Lion King. And I think the songs they've added from the film into the musical for The Lion King are what make the musical so good. Like they are really, really standout songs like Shadowland and stuff. But the songs they added didn't really add anything. And I was honestly just they were a bit, not boring, but they weren't as good as the songs that were in the film. I think the songs in the film are so good that it will be difficult for them to compare anyway. I think even Let It Go didn't slap as much as I thought it would. I don't know, I just think the film is better, which is rare. Usually I quite like a theatre kind of thing, but yeah, the film unfortunately was better for me. But again, you might have really liked it. They did do an announcement at the start of the show saying that for a lot of people this will be the first show that they've ever seen, but please don't sing along. People sing along. I think when it gets to Let It Go and stuff, people were they were going to sing along, especially because there were a lot of kids there. We went to a Sunday matinee, so there were loads of children there. Now the first act, like it was quite quiet, like children were relatively well behaved, but then when it got to the second act, obviously, you know, kids get tired. It was kind of to be expected, but you could just tell in the audience, obviously it was a bit louder and stuff, and as I'm an adult who was going like with my sister and stuff, it was a little bit disruptive as someone who quite likes like good theatre etiquette. I was a little bit like, but it wasn't the worst theatre etiquette I've seen this year. Honestly, you'd be surprised. But yeah, it was good. The audience doesn't take away from it too much. Obviously they're kids. It's great that there's a show out there that they can go see, and I absolutely love that. It was great seeing kids like dressed up and stuff. It was really, really sweet. But that is definitely something to bear in mind if you do go to see it. But yeah, I just think this was going to get compared to, you know, the film or other Disney musicals, and I just don't think it lived up to them. But let me just say, again, costumes were fantastic. Special effects were really good. The special effects were probably some of the best I've seen in shows this year. Absolutely fantastic. Loved the costumes, loved the set. The theatre itself is lovely as well. It's just off Covent Garden. It's absolutely beautiful. There's like a bar. We got some really nice pictures. But yeah, wasn't my favourite. But would I see it again? I wouldn't say no if I found a good price ticket. I would like to give it another chance, because maybe I wasn't fair in it because I was too busy comparing it to other things, so I would like to give it a proper chance, I think. Next up, Bonnie and Clyde. So I saw Bonnie and Clyde at the Garrick Theatre with Jordan Luke Gage as Clyde and Lauren Jones, who was the understudy, as Bonnie. So I really liked it. I think it's a great show. the reason why it's so like low down is because there are really, really standout moments, but there are other moments of the show that I wasn't as interested in. You know, they weren't interesting me as much as other parts of the show, and I think that's why it's a bit further down, because it's very like, oh, I like this, oh, I don't know if I do. But overall I did. I am going to see the show again as well. I'm going to see it on tour, because it is going on tour in the UK in 2024. But yeah, it was really good. The people in it were fantastic. The singing was absolutely amazing. I also did stage door for this one as well. Everyone I met at stage door was so lovely, which was really great to see. But yeah, it's a good show. I definitely recommend it. It's interesting as well. Obviously it's based on real people. When there's any kind of musical based on history, please don't base all of your history on the musical. Like, there are obviously bits they miss out, you know, bits they add, those sort of things. Like, please bear that in mind whatever you see. It's not always completely historically accurate, but yeah, really liked it. Program's great. They actually had a bit in the program about like Bonnie and Clyde, the actual people, as well, which is quite cool. So yeah, really liked it. It was a good show. And I am obviously going back to see it as well again. So I liked it. Also, I have listened to the soundtrack as well. They've done a soundtrack with this West End cast, which is fantastic. Like, to hear the soundtrack of the cast you saw is super cool. And on the soundtrack as well, they've also put the alternate, Bonnie and Clyde. They've done a song with them, which I love, because we should be lifting up the alternates, the understudies, the covers more, because they are fantastic. Next up, Peter Pan, the Panto. I didn't know whether to include this. I didn't know if it was appropriate to include this in like theatre I've seen, but it was really good. I've never seen a Panto before. I know, I've never seen a Panto. I know it's a big shock because I look like the sort of person who would see a Panto because I love like Disney things. But yes, I saw it at the London Palladium and it was really good. I was surprised at how much I liked it. I thought it was going to be full of kids. Everyone I said that I was going to a Panto to, they were like, oh, I've not been to one since I was 10. I was like, oh no, I'm not going to like this. No, loved it. It was really good. The special, like, not special effects, but like the set itself, like the costumes. Julian Clary's costume was amazing. Julian Clary is hilarious. Yeah, really good. Ensemble, the dancing was amazing. The singing was great. Rob, Madge, again, they were so good. I feel very lucky that I got to see them. Yeah, really good show. Honestly, I would definitely go back to a Panto at the Palladium because I really liked it. So I recommend. It was good. The other reason it's quite low down, obviously, is because it's not a proper like musical or whatever. It's a Panto. There wasn't that many songs in, but it was really good. I was very surprised. I was also surprised at the level of inappropriate jokes. I didn't think that was. I'd never seen a Panto before. I knew nothing about them. This is the only musical to appear twice on this list, and we have Moulin Rouge on Broadway. So I saw Moulin Rouge on Broadway when I went to see Taylor Swift in New Jersey. We had a spare evening free, so we went to see it. Now the reason why this is lower down than the other Moulin Rouge is one, because the tickets were expensive. The tickets were really expensive, and then also we have restrictive use like tickets as well, so we couldn't see the set as well as I have when I've gone to London. And I personally prefer the London cast overall. You can also film the pre-show in London, whereas you can't do that on Broadway. But I did still really like it. It was really, really good. I saw Derek Klennett as Christian and Jojo as Satine. They were both fantastic. It's very interesting to see how different people portray these same characters, because they portray them in such a different way, which is really cool. So yeah, really like that. I also did stage door. Broadway stage door is so much more organised, which is great. I met Jojo. She was really, really nice. As you can see, I got to just send my program too, which is really cool. Well, playbill. Honestly, what I do like about Broadway is that all of their like programs, playbills are all the same size, whereas with the UK, they are never the same size, I swear. Next up, Heathers. So I didn't see Heathers at the other Palace. I saw it on tour at the Palace Theatre in Manchester. Now, I love Heathers. I listen to the album all the time, the West End one, usually the West End cast recording, and I love it. I did still like it. I really liked the show. It was great to see it for the first time. I've never actually seen it. I've not even watched a bootleg or anything. The thing that let it down for me, and the reason why it's not any higher up, is because of the audience. Now, Heathers got a big cult following, and I was aware of that. And I'd heard there'd been like, it's quite disruptive sometimes on the West, like in the West End if you see it, but I didn't expect that on the tour. I definitely didn't think people would be like finishing lines before the actor had the chance to, but they did. You know, like the audience was almost like a pantomime audience, like people were like singing along and stuff, and like finishing lines, laughing at jokes before they've been said, which is difficult for me as someone who hadn't seen it, and my sister who hadn't seen it and didn't know much about it. She definitely said that that impacted her experience as well. Now, I understand people really love this show. It's a great show, like fair enough, but I think the issue with it is if you are disrupting the show for other people who are going to see it for the first time, like they're not going to enjoy it as much. So yeah, please have better theatre etiquette if you do go to see a show, even if you love it. There's shows I love, but just be a bit more considerate of the audience. That's honestly why it's lower down, because I loved it. It was really great. I really liked it. I really enjoyed it. I think it's a fantastic show, but I just think the audience, especially for my sister who didn't really know anything about it, was a bit like, this is intense, you know. It was, which is disappointing, I think. I think, you know, there is definitely, that was one of the more like very poor behaved audiences that I had. I think of all of them, that was probably the worst. But Moulin Rouge in the West End also could take that title. Anyway, next up, Phantom of the Opera. Still my favourite musical. I absolutely adore it. The only reason it's lower down, I think, is because it's not dated, but obviously the special effects in like the newer shows are different and stuff. The way they do the newer shows with the costumes and stuff is different, but it's still my favourite show. It's still my favourite musical. I saw the understudy Christine, Eve. So good. She was honestly absolutely phenomenal. She blew me away. I didn't have time to do stage door because I had to get a train straight afterwards, but it was really good. I sat in the stalls. Now I have seen Phantom in the West End before, but I hadn't seen it in the stalls before, so it was great when the chandelier fell. It's a really good show. I definitely recommend it to anyone. I love it. It's fantastic. I don't really have many negative words to say about it. I wish I'd seen the original production before it was obviously cut after COVID. I would have loved to have seen that, and it would be nice if they could bring that back. Yeah. It's a great show. It's a great show. So I also saw Hamilton. So I do have a programme for Hamilton, but I've lost it. I saw it on the tour. So I've not seen Hamilton since 2018 when I saw it when it first opened in the West End. I loved it. I forgot how much I loved Hamilton. I've not really listened to it as much like in recent years, but yeah, I do love Hamilton. It's not my favourite show anymore. I think there are other shows I prefer. It is quite a long show, especially that first act. It's quite long. I did forget how long it was, but yeah, I really love it. It's not got like the most amazing set in the world, but I like the set. I like the costumes. I like the story. I really like Hamilton. There's not really much to say. I didn't enjoy it as much as I saw it the first time, but I think the first time I saw it, I've been waiting for like 2 years to see it, so I was glad to finally see it, but I did still love it, and the tour cast are absolutely fantastic. So if it's coming to a city near you, definitely check out Hamilton. It's a musical, I think, for people who really don't like musicals, like they like it. People who do like musicals like it. I think everyone's very surprised by how much they like Hamilton, especially the first time you see it. So definitely go see it. It's one to watch. Andrew Lloyd Webber. Again, we're back with Andrew Lloyd Webber. Jesus Christ Superstar. I saw the tour of this. So I saw this at the Palace Theatre in Manchester, the Empire Theatre in Liverpool. So I saw it in the press night in Manchester, so they'd only just opened, and it was very interesting to see how much they developed from the time I saw it at the press night to where I saw it a few months later in Liverpool. So I saw it on a matinee in Liverpool. I absolutely adored it. It was great. It's a great show. I was surprised at how much I liked it. I didn't know if I was going to like it that much. I loved it. It is a sung-through musical, do bear that in mind, but I really loved it. It's a great show. Do be aware that if you don't know the story of the Passion that well, that this could be a bit like, oh, like I went with a friend who didn't really know, and obviously when like the temple thing happened, she was a bit confused. Like it's kind of hard to follow along with the story if you don't know it that well. Obviously, like not everyone does know it that well, and that's fine. So I definitely recommend if you are going to see it, kind of just read the story beforehand, just so you can kind of be aware of what's going on, because it is all sung through. Really good. Love this interpretation of it. It's not like got massive sets or anything. Like the set pretty much stays the same the whole time. They've got guitars, they've got handheld mics. Definitely interesting. My favourite part had to be Gethsemane, which I cannot pronounce for the life of me. I always pronounce it wrong. Really good. That honestly was probably one of, if not my favourite theatre moment of this year. It's so good. When I went to Liverpool, the lady next to me was like actually sobbing during it. So yeah, it's definitely good. If you get the chance to see it, go see it. This is the second most fave of mine. That was terrible English, but we're just going to ignore it. So this was my second fave, Sunset Boulevard. It was phenomenal. The more I think about it, the more I just think how good this was. It was. So I saw the Jamie Lloyd production at the Savoy. I saw Nicole Scherzinger and Tom Francis. They were amazing. Nicole Scherzinger blew me away. I wasn't really like that fussed about who I saw as Norma. Like I never really am. Like I don't mind if I get covers and stuff. It's exciting to get covers, but when I tell you Nicole Scherzinger is phenomenal, but I've also heard Rachel Tucker was phenomenal as well. But yeah, so good. I've listened to the soundtrack since. I've heard rumours that there's going to be one of like a new soundtrack of this cast, which would be fantastic to see, because Nicole Scherzinger was just chef's kiss. She was amazing. But yeah, it's really good. It's different than anything I've ever seen before. Like I was so surprised. Like I knew it was stripped down, but I didn't realise like how stripped down it was, because obviously Sunset Boulevard, like the way it's kind of what it's about, you expect like big extravagant sets and costumes, but they didn't have that. But you still knew what it was. You still felt what it was meant to be like, and I can't really describe it, but the way they used cameras was so good. My favourite part personally had to be the start of Act 2. I absolutely loved it when he was outside the theatre walking, and when he came in there was a huge cheer because it's just impressive. The way they did it, it was impressive. I couldn't recommend it enough. It's a shame it was only on for a short period of time, and it is a shame that the tickets were so expensive, but it's really good. And my favourite was Moulin Rouge. No surprises there. I saw this 6 times in the West End and 1 time on Broadway. I loved it. What can I say? It was really good. I saw Jamie Muscato as Christian and Melissa James and Vanessa Ella Young as Satine. They were both really good in their own right, but honestly, it's a great show. I always convinced myself, I was like, no, I do not like jukebox musicals. I don't like them. They don't interest me. No, because I was one of those people. I was like, no, absolutely not. And then I watched it. I got really cheap tickets. I got like the £15 standing tickets, and I was like, wow, this is incredible. I loved it so much. I went back 2 days later, and then I went back a month later, and then I went on Broadway, and then I got can seats, and then like, I love it. It's a great show. Like, I can't recommend it enough, to be honest. The spectacle of it is great. Even if you don't like the songs that much, you don't like the story, the spectacle, just to see it is really good. It's one of those ones where you walk into the theatre and you're just like blown away by how cool it looks with that big like Moulin Rouge neon light. So good. Honestly, that feeling. You could also record the pre-show in the West End, which is really good. But yeah, it's a great show. I have listened to the soundtrack many times since. I love it. I wish they had done a West End cast recording with Jamie Muscato Christian. That would have been great. But yeah, it's a great show. What more can I say? It's a great show. I love it, and I need to see it again with the new cast. But yeah, that has been a very short overview of the theatre I have seen this year. My least fave to my most fave. Again, none of it is critical of the actors in it. They've all been really fantastic. I never want to be like, this actor was dreadful, because no one was. Everyone was amazing. Just all my own personal preferences of what I personally liked and didn't like as much. But yeah, I've seen some really great theatre this year. I'm very lucky to have seen such great theatre, and I'm very thankful to have seen such great theatre as well. Yeah, it's been a great year for theatre, and I'm glad I refound my love of it, because like before I hadn't seen anything, I think, since probably when I saw Waitress in 2019, obviously because we had the pandemic and stuff. Oh no, I saw Phantom in 2021, I lied everyone. But yeah, I love theatre. I wish it was more accessible, I wish it was more affordable, that would be great, but I do like that the tour tends to be more affordable, which is really good, because I can get to like Manchester, I can go to Blackpool, I can go to Liverpool. There are lots of great theatres around me, which is fantastic. But yeah, I hope you liked this video. Let me know in the comments if you did like this video. I've not really done one like this before, so let me know, that'd be really great. I hope you did, and if you're new to the channel, make sure to like and subscribe, that would be so cool, and as always, have a great day!